and we'll get this kicked off. Thanks, Jason. So welcome everybody to the December 11th Housing Coordinating Team call. I'm Cheryl Cohen. I'm the Executive Director of the Board of Housing and want to thank all of you guys for joining us today. Our team is very excited to debut our new multifamily loan program guidelines and outline the application process, timeline, and available funds for a competitive 2026 application round. And what is really notable about this is under the House Bill 924 from the 25 legislative session, the Board of Housing is receiving statutory appropriations for affordable housing use for the first time in state history. So this is a really exceptional opportunity for all of us to coordinate to help provide funds to develop affordable housing throughout Montana communities and to do so in as much of a flexible way as we possibly can. So with this meeting today, Jason and Bruce are going to walk us through these guidelines. We welcome you to ask questions as we go. You can just raise your hand or type in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat to respond to questions or raise them to Jason and Bruce since they'll be presenting and won't see the chat so much. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to Jason to get us started. And again, thanks for joining us today. We are recording today's call and we will make it available on the Commerce website after the call is over and we work through Marcoms to get it published. Thanks so much, everybody. Jason, over to you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Just wanted to start out today just to introduce the team here quick. So if you guys call in, have questions or emails, and you see people emailing you back, just wanted to introduce the four of us quick. Jason Hanson, the multifamily program manager at Montana Board of Housing. And Bruce, do you want to introduce yourself quick?
Yeah, Bruce Brinstall. I'm a program officer here at Multifamily.
And Kelly, do you want to introduce yourself? She able to get on? If not, Brian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Brian, the multifamily asset manager.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll get started with the guidelines. We'll have time for questions, but if you do have a question, yeah, just chime in, I guess, and we can answer them as we go or wait till the end. And if we have time, we'll also do a round robin across the state with what's going on as well. So the first thing that's changed are our buckets of money. So we have buckets of money with the new Go Housing Trust Fund, and we also still have buckets of money with Montana Board of Housing. So the first one that is new is the Go Housing Montana Fund. That's the one that was established in the 2025 session. So what we can do with that one is it doesn't have to be in a first lien position. It doesn't have to pay property taxes if qualified, and the project is not limited to multifamily rental properties only, and it can also be used for mobile home parks. And you'll see kind of a theme. Most of these are going to be like the Housing Montana Fund. The only one that's not is different than the rest is the Go Housing Montana multifamily housing program. This is what was called the CoTrust funds before. So this one here still has to be in first lien position. It has to pay property taxes. It is limited to multifamily rentals, and it can be used for preservation of mobile home parks. The MBOH Housing Montana Fund, that stays the same. So first lien position is not required. Property taxes aren't required if qualified. It's not limited to multifamily rentals, and it can be used for mobile home parks. And the MBOH multifamily loan program stays the same. No first lien position. Property taxes are a no. Project is, though, limited to multifamily rentals, unlike the Housing Montana Fund, and it is not able to be used for mobile home parks. Got some definitions in here. They're pretty straightforward. I don't think that's going to shock anybody. If you want to read it, it's linked on our website. So eligible applicants is next. Applicants can be state government, local government, tribal governments, local housing authorities, nonprofit community or neighborhood-based organizations, regional or statewide nonprofit housing assistance organizations, and for-profit housing developers. And next would be the eligible activities. And Bruce, that would be yours.
Oh, any questions on the buckets of money? So as far as eligible activities, of course, this section kind of lists all eligible activities. But not all activities are eligible in every bucket. So, you'll need to kind of reconcile that as you consider your projects going forward. The first eligible activity one, and there'll be three of these, is new construction and basically acquisition projects. So we will have these projects be amortizing equally with monthly payments of P&I. We will allow up to 40 years on the amortization and up to 30 years on the terms. We can do home ownership for some of the pots of money. We would anticipate doing those projects, and waiting for them to get ready to sell. But they would be short-term loans, and we would do them for interest only on those projects. The board did approve the interest rates on these activities at 3.25%. That includes all administrative and servicing fees. We cannot exceed 95% of total development costs. However, we will also be looking at loan to value, and just kind of potential risk with these projects as well. So that's important to understand. We do require that at least 75% of the units be targeted towards 95% of area median income. We expect to see many projects that have much deeper targeting, but that at a minimum, they need to have that. We will use financial feasibility to set our amortization periods. If it's not needed to have a 40-year am, we prefer to have it at a 30 and have it pay off quicker. And we do prefer to have shorter terms. Real simple there. The money will evolve faster, and we'll be able to do more loans in the future. So all projects will have land use restrictions in place, or a regulatory agreement outlining the income targeting and any other restrictions that come along with the type of project you're doing. We anticipate, and for most projects, we see permanent financing done at completion of construction and 3 months of stabilized occupancy. That's 90% occupancy for 3 months. We can do financing during construction if there's a reason and there's a benefit that the board is willing to support. Basically, what I think you need to understand, though, if we do this, and we've only done one like this so far, is we will close the loan and we will disperse all funds. What we end up doing is using a disbursement agent, could be a bank or a title company, whatever we figure out. You can put those monies into low risk investments to help manage your negative arbitrage. And it will be amortizing, from closing. So that all has to be kind of worked into the deal and figured out if that's the option that you pick. Any questions about activity one? All right. Eligible activity two, bridge financing necessary to make developments of housing for low-income families. This is where we'd include land for housing developments, land banking, and land trusts. These are going to have a shorter term. We are going to have to look at loan to value and other loan provisions. Interest only, because they are short-term loans with a maximum of 3 years. They'll bear interest rate. This interest rate was approved on Monday at our board meeting of 4.25%. And then just note, if this is a land deal, we will only finance 50% of the land value, and that land value will be the appraised value or purchase price, whichever is lower. And then the activity level 3 is kind of a difficult one to figure out, and the fact that it's pre-construction technical assistance in rural areas and small municipal projects or short-term site-based housing vouchers. All of our programs are loans, and they need to have a reasonable basis for being repaid. So it's a little bit hard to see how these activities are going to fit, but it technically is eligible, and we'll look at it to see if it makes sense for the program. So I want to talk a little bit about some general program parameters. Generally, the maximum minimums on loans will be between 250,000 and 5 million. We can't make loans that will replace existing or available funding. The general public use rule for tax credits will be followed, so you can't do a project just for a specific group or maybe a group of employees. 20% of the money must be used for rural areas as defined in the definitions. We do need to make our loans to single asset entities. So if you're doing a project, you'll have to form a single asset entity that we can make the loan to. We will have our mortgages secured by a lien and a trust indenture. And then, of course, we will have late fees if you don't pay on time. This is, I think, important too, and applicants must demonstrate project development progress through quarterly reports. So you'll have to, report quarterly on your activities. And if things are not moving along, the board can consider removing a commitment. Any questions?
I'll just add on the alignment with general public use for tax credits. There, could be exceptions to this if you have other fund sources in the proposed project that would limit occupancy. For example, if you're proposing to use a HUD-VASH voucher, and so occupancy would be restricted to eligible homeless veterans under that program. But what we wanted to clarify here is we do hear throughout the community an interest in developing housing for specific employers or specific classifications of jobs. And because these are state tax dollars, we've ran this by our general counsel, and we really do need to make sure that these funds and the ultimate projects that are developed are generally available to the public, absent some sort of other fund use or restriction that limits. But we think that we could get ourselves in a little hot water if we allowed a project to move forward that, say, for example, would be restricted exclusively to a single employer or a single job classification or job sector. So we just wanted to kind of clarify that as part of this process.
So we do have a couple of questions in the chat. Paul's got one up here. Do any of the loan programs trigger prevailing wage or other requirements during construction? And for us, it would not. The next question from Emily is there a DSCR guidelines for these loans? And there is. We'll get to that, but to answer that question right now, we will be in line with our tax credit programs. So debt coverage ratios will be between that 1.15 and 1.5.
Yeah, and Emily, we'll answer the question a little more down in the FAQs because we did get your question ahead of time. So.
Okay. Great. Thanks, guys.
Perfect. To move on then. So we're going to be having a first competitive round, initial competitive round for these buckets of money in the spring. We will go through that process. Just wanted to show kind of what we will have as far as our anticipated buckets for what dollar amount will be in each one. That new Go Housing Montana Fund, the Go Housing one will be $22 million. The Go Housing Multifamily Home Program, which was the Cole Trust, will be a little over $13 million. The MBOH Multifamily Loan Program will be around $3 million. And then the Multifamily MBOH Housing Montana Fund will be just under $2 million, looks like. So the process we're looking at on the calendar. So as of today, we'll start accepting pre-qualification forms, and I will cover that here shortly on where and how to do that. January, we want to have individual project pre-application meetings. So if you're planning on applying, we'd like to set up just a quick initial meeting on a Teams meeting or a Zoom call, just to see kind of what you're thinking, how it would work, and so forth, just to help everybody out. February, we're going to be having an application workshop. So we use Builder's Patch software right now. It's a web-based program. So they will be helping us do an application workshop with any questions on how to fill anything out and how to use their website. And also, yeah, grant access to application checklists at the same time. April 13th will be the pre-application deadline. That actually coincides with our LIHTC program. So if you're doing a 9% pre-application as well for that round, they're going to have the same date at 5 p.m. on April 13th. And then June 8th at our board meeting, the loan commitment awards will be awarded by the board at that meeting. After this initial competitive round, the board does anticipate moving to an open funding process, subject to the availability of funds. So as I said, the next bullet points are just, as of today, pre-qualification forms. Submission for pre-qualification forms serves as the applicant's request to access the board application platform. There's a link right here, and it's on our website. We can also email it to you if you can't find it for how to get on that website. As I said, we'll have application meetings, or pre-application meetings, I should say. And these are the same dates. So all pre-application approvals will be contingent of a submission of a full application that meets all underwriting criteria and cash flows. Full application deadline is selected, will be due no later than September 30th. So when the board's looking at the pre-applications, they're going to be looking at the pre-applications in June, and then if selected, full applications will need to be done by September 30th. If a project has already submitted a full application, that will be used. Pre-qualification form must still be submitted. Even so, what this pertains to is if you're doing a LIHTC award or putting in for a LIHTC, you've already got an application in, we still want a pre-qualification form for the loan part of it. And if you already have a full application or a pre-application in with the LIHTC side, what we would need on top of that would be just an updated narrative addressing all the items listed that are needed for the application. And updated pro formas as well. As I said, we're going to approve projects so long as the funds remain available going forward. The other thing I want to cover on this is on the application process. At the time, applications
rolling out the housing credit program that they passed last session, but
Hey folks, if we could have members who are attending just mute your lines unless you're asking a question. I'll let Jason finish what he's at, and then we've got a couple more questions in the chat, Jason.
All right. So on the narratives, what that I just spoke about, if you have a application in already, we want a narrative. So what should that narrative cover? We want to update a narrative addressing all items listed in the narrative section below and an updated pro forma. Narratives then should describe all the efforts made by the applicants to coordinate the loan with other housing assistance programs administered by the board, the federal government, state agencies, tribal government, local public housing authorities, local governments, and private entities. Also, an explanation on how the loan will not replace existing or available funding for the project. A detailed description of the public benefit obtained from the program funding. This includes will be provided because of the loan being requested. And when applicable, construction phase funding compared to funding from other existing and available funding sources with substantially similar terms and conditions. And for mobile home parks, documentation of lot rents for comparable mobile home parks in the market area, and an explanation demonstrating that proposed lot rents will be reasonable and affordable for prospective residents. And what will the board be looking at come to the June board meeting when they make their selection? They're looking for the applicant's experience in managing or developing housing for low-income or moderate-income households, the percentage of units in the project that will be available to low or moderate-income households, the need for low, moderate-income housing in the community where the project's located, and the priority of the board's proposed lien in relation to the amount of the loan, the priority of the liens, and the amount of the loans of the lenders of the project location, the loan size, and whether it maximizes the geographical distribution of the loan program, the use of other funds to leverage the use of the board's funds, and the following categories will also be used in consideration for funding: the income levels targeted, the proficiency, project efficiency, location considerations, geographic distribution, and community contributions. Board staff also reserves the right, in consultation with the project, to move projects to a different program that is requested to best utilize available funds. And so we have some other questions. Look like Heather's got a question. Will more projects be invited to apply than funds available on June 8th? And so we won't know upfront how many people are applying right away. So we want everybody to apply. We'll have the competitive round in June. So which her question is, meaning, is it a commitment on June 8th or not officially until September? No, June 8th means it is a commitment. We just want the full application after that by September 30th. So it is the commitment at the June meeting. Does that answer your question, Heather?
I think so. I just, if you're mixed in with tax credits or other projects, when can the team rely on the commitment? And I think you're answering that on June 8th. We could rely on it. It would just be a matter of processing and underwriting.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And the reason we opted for this kind of pre-application and then full application process is just an acknowledgement of the timeline that we know that members and developers have time that it takes to get projects together. And we wanted to create kind of this competitive round to give everybody a full shot and fair opportunity to apply. And we know that some projects, this could be the first fund source in the deal. And requesting at this time of application, a full application with all the pro forma and all of that would be quite a heavy lift. And so that's why we propose this approach of having a shorter, more succinct pre-application, which we think is more feasible and less of a burden on developers, and also candidly will be less of a lift for our staff to review at that pre-application stage. But then the expectation that a full application come in so we can ensure financial feasibility and everything is all squared away before the money is released. Bruce or Jason, do you guys have anything to add or correct me on that little piece?
Nope, that sounded good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's clear. It's also, I think you can, it might be the first money in, it might be the last money in for projects, and you can, projects that are already ready to go might be able to access these. So thank you.
And
I do
looks like,
think at the June meeting though, it's gonna, they'll have the projects that are committed to. If there's other projects, they'll be put in order of priority. Because we could have a situation where there's a loan commitment on a tax credit deal that doesn't end up getting funded in October, and then that money would come back, and we can, just streamline, apply it to another project in the pipeline.
And then the second question we had in the chat from Bonnie Craigle is, are the technical assistant loans for pre-development work interest only or amortizing? And if interest only, are payments required or is it capitalized? And secondly, can this pre-development TA be awarded prior to the September 30th? So I would recommend that individuals interested in the application for pre-construction technical assistance specifically read the MCA that is linked in these guidelines. From off the top of my head, I believe it is limited to the small rural areas. So we can't do pre-technical assistance for all projects. And the statute language and administrative rules around this the technical assistance funds is limited. It would be the ability to either work with us to provide pre-construction technical assistance, and we'll be candid that is not a service we have specifically provided in the past. And then the statute indicates that it would need to be with a nonprofit. And so if you're working with a for-profit engineering firm and you are looking to receive a loan to help fund that type of work, that may not be eligible. So really read that linked MCA to understand the parameters around the pre-construction or the the technical assistance loans. I think when we met internally as a team, we just want to kind of clarify, and Bruce will go through this in the FAQs, but the difference between bridge financing eligible use 2 versus eligible use 3, that technical assistance piece. And so there is some differences there. Jason or Bruce, is there anything else that you would want to add around could they be awarded prior to the September 30th full application deadline? I would lean toward likely no.
No, I would agree with that. And number 5 of the FAQs tries to
Yep.
get to that. We'll make sure that it actually answers the question here as we talk about it. So,
Okay.
all right, are we ready for FAQs? Any other questions before we move on? So FAQs, a couple of the 2 or 3 of the questions at the bottoms were questions we had got from you guys before the meeting. The other ones are ones that I don't know. I just tried to think up questions folks might have, So please ask questions. If you have a question, more than likely someone else is going to have it too. So I just started out with, can existing community land trusts use loan funds to provide affordable housing? And yes, they can. They can be used in the Housing Montana funds. Those are both eligible. If you're acquiring land for future development, it's eligible activity 2 and would be used to purchase on a short-term loan. If the trust is developing affordable housing, you could use activity 1, where there'd be a longer-term loan on the land. But the homeowner would have to have separate financing to structure or to finance the purchase of the home on their side. Just a reminder that under any of these, we still need to meet the income requirements, and we'll be able to. We'd have to be able to support the debt repayment, like any loan should. If acquiring a existing multifamily project or single family, is rehabilitation required, like tax credits? No, it is not required if a capital needs assessment does not identify any deficiencies. If there are deficiencies, of course, then they will be required. Can loan funds be used for mortgages to home buyers? No, they will need to use single family programs for that. Can loan funds be used to develop and construct single family homes that will be sold to families? Again, both HMF funds can be done with that. Projects constructing homes for sale will be required to use a Habitat, CLT, or similar organization to manage future affordability restrictions. Part of the application, if that is the activity, will be a plan on how current and future sales restrictions will be handled. And this is just an example. A property is sold using, but it must be sold to occupant for owner-occupied residence. Owners must be eligible households with annual gross income at or below 75% of, the incomes that ranges that'll be used. An example could be 24 CFR 5 on how to qualify your buyers. You must have purchase prices that are affordable to the folks you're targeting. And then kind of what are the restrictions on future sales and how will that be handled? Again, this is Bonnie had asked these questions, and I think this kind of maybe gets a little bit to the pre-development type loans. If we're assuming that you're doing pre-development loans on a bridge basis, you'd use eligibility 2. We honestly don't anticipate many of these loans, just kind of because of what they are and what these loan programs are. We would require that, like any other project, that there be a lien on the property and there's regulatory and restrictive covenants. We would require at least interest-only payments. That could be an option. But we would probably also require a guarantee of repayment because these are quite risky loans and we're not in the business of losing money for the Go Trust. So, or quite frankly, the Board of Housing. Again, will funds commitment be required for the project? Again, we're assuming this is probably under eligibility 2, but we will not necessarily require a funding commitment or first lien, but all of the others, requirements above would still be looked at. A little bit more on the question we got for GO Housing Montana. Is there a minimum debt service coverage ratio for funds presuming second lien position? I think it's a good thing to clarify with all folks that all of these loans will be hard debt, and yes, debt service coverage ratios that are listed in our most current qualified allocation plan will be followed. And then I did add the question about prevailing wages to my copy, and again, no, that is not a requirement of these programs.
And the board's
So
considering these FAQs to be kind of living, working documents. So as we receive additional FAQs, we'll do our best to update this and make it available on our website so we can all benefit from the questions that have been asked and the responses for consistency and overall awareness. Sorry, Jason, I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't see any questions in the chat, so I guess we could take questions from the audience if anybody has any.
Hey, this is Shane. I guess just a general question, jumping back to kind of award rounds and the bullet point right below. I think the amount of funds or the timeline right there.
Right here?
No, actually the timeline.
Okay. Right there.
Okay, so after this initial competitive round, the board anticipates moving to an open funding process subject to the availability of funds. Does that apply to this year's availability of funds and like an open funding process, or do you envision an open funding process starting after this first initial competitive round and all kind of future funding rounds?
Starting after this first initial one, going forward after this first round.
Okay, so it'd be like a first come, first serve sort of a funding process moving
Correct.
forward? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
For everyone's awareness, the legislation, House Bill 924, also touches on our Veterans Home Loan Program. And so as we receive some of these appropriations for funds, we opted to direct all of the direct transfers that we received from the passage of the bill through the spring, May 1 of 2026, to this multifamily program. But we'll be looking to ensure that our Veterans Home Loan Program also receives an augment of funds with one of those future transfers. And so that's why this isn't going to be necessarily continuously available funds. And the transfers outlined in the bill are there's certain prescriptive ones through the biennium, and then ongoing transfers of what's called volatile revenue, a 20% split, 80% goes to employee pensions. So that's kind of why we're doing this big one opportunity and then moving toward as funds are available. But just awareness for everybody that you're sharing these funds with our Veterans Home Loan Program as well, because we want to make sure that we augment that program in alignment with legislative intent.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Tyler with Housing Solutions. Just following up on that, Cheryl, if funds were appropriated once again for one of these loan programs, would you anticipate having a competitive round if that was the case, like after the veterans programs were funded? If another tranche came in for these loan programs, do you think you would go the competitive route again?
Probably not this biennium. Of course, we'd need to talk internally about that. But just looking at the scheduled transfer of funds, I think right now, with the near 40 million kind of combined with all those buckets, that's a pretty sizable amount to do a competitive round. But we may not have that robust of an amount within this biennium. Certainly all of you are likely involved in the legislative process, and you may be interested in advocating in 2027 for additional appropriations of funds into the program. And we'd certainly welcome your interest in doing so. And then we would revisit at that time. But I think we want to do a big one-time round and then rolling as the funds are available, at least through the biennium.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you.
Heather, I see you came off mute. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I had raised my hand, so, thanks. This may be oversimplified, but, Cheryl, because I know that we have our legislative opportunities every 2 years. What components of these funds, because we have 4 pots, are they gonna be refreshed annually out of, the state's budget annually?
So my understanding is in House Bill 924, the creation of the broader Montana Growth and Opportunity Trust is a permanent fund type. And the bill outlines ongoing transfers of the volatile revenues, but the direct appropriated transfers of general fund primarily do end within the biennium. And the bill doesn't indicate any future direct transfers of general funds. It would be limited to that one-time transfer of that 20% volatile revenue, by which we don't have any great estimates about what those amounts will be.
That makes sense, and also to their point of wanting to revolve the funds as best we can.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So there's a question in the chat, and then I
Yeah,
see
just looking for
hand
it.
is up. So Nancy in the chat indicates that 20% of funds must go to rural areas. What is the criteria? We do have a definition, and I believe it is anything that's outside of the big 7 communities is considered rural. Is that correct, Jason?
Correct. Yeah, right here.
And we've never had any issues meeting that 20%. So, Eddie?
Yeah, hey, Eddie says with Roars. Just really quick question on eligible activity number 1, and if so, if you're to do a shorter term loans and a shorter term loan and use for activities during construction. I think Bruce mentioned that it would be fully drawn on your end to disbursement agent at closing. And so, if it is fully dispersed, I guess at closing, you're using it for construction activities. Is it amortizing from day 1, or is there an interest only period?
Yes, it's amortizing from day 1.
Got it. And is that interest that the developer would be paying, is that basis eligible? If it's a tax credit project?
Good question for your
Yeah.
accountant. I would think so.
It would be during the construction period, and then there's a clear break. Yeah.
Okay.
You can't capitalize it. Yep.
Got it. And then, so it says the shorter term loans will generally be 16 to 20 year terms. So just confirming that no prints, I guess it wouldn't be due prior to that term at all. Like there wouldn't be any requirements to pay off at construction or at stabilization. It would be outstanding.
Yeah, we would typically see them, the term would be whatever, let's just say 35 years as an example. And then the term would be 16 on a straight up tax credit deal, because that's when you're exiting your investor anyways. So, but there would be no prepayment at conversion to perm. It would just continue on as a perm loan until the term ends.
Got it. Would there be the option to do so if the developer wanted to? And you guys accepted it?
There are no prepayment penalties or anything. So yeah, it could prepay just about at any time.
Right.
I could distribute it, December 1st, and you could prepay it December 2nd if you like. Be a lot of money spent for nothing, but
yeah. Got it. Okay, thank you.
And Emily, you got a question?
Yeah, I noticed it said that all the annual fees are included in the interest rate. Is there a closing fee?
There is a 1% of the loan.
Oh, is that on there? Sorry.
It's just up above.
Okay, got it. All right, thanks.
But
So 1% to close?
Probably a good question. And it's a 1%, but the project will also pay all other closing fees, including title, and we have certain title requirements, things like that.
Okay.
So, just keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Alex, just popped a question in there. While the program guidelines list evaluation criteria such as income targeting, project efficiency, and leverage, is there a specific scoring rubric, point system, or weighting hierarchy that the board will use to rank these applications against each other during the initial competitive round? As far as scoring, no, it's basically going to be mostly like our tax credit programs. Board members will, they'll have the opportunity to look at those criteria that we listed and pick what they think fits for what they want.
And we did tell our Alex in prior discussions with the board, we kind of talk through their preferences, and whether they would like staff to have some sort of review rank system and present the loans maybe as a slate of loans for approval. And board members were pretty specific that given the newness of this program, they really do want to review and select projects on an individual basis. So that's the approach that we're taking here. And then using those, all of the criteria around the evaluation criteria, that's been what is included in statute and administrative rules. So we want to make sure that we're in alignment with that. And the categories for evaluation around income targeting, those I think 5 categories listed align with our approach in the tax credit world as well. Board members will need to provide clarity when they're making their project selections as to why they're selecting the projects that they're selecting, so we can ensure that developers receive good feedback on what the board is looking for. So I hope that answers the question. We know that our board does have a broad level of discretion, and so we presented various options, and they wanted to maintain that level of discretion with these categories in mind.
And Eddie, you got a question?
Sorry, I never put my hand on.
All right.
My apologies. Is it right now?
Okay. And I thought I seen another one. I don't see it now. Brian?
Yeah, Brian Geyer, City of Bozeman. I apologize if this is in the definitions. I just haven't seen it. Is there a minimum size on the mobile home parks?
Minimum size? No. We just hoping to have loans between that 250,000 and 5 million mark. So, yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Other questions? Am I missing anybody with their hand up? Okay, I don't see anybody. Cheryl, do we want to do a quick round robin then and see if anybody has anything
Jason?
else? Oh, yep.
I just wanted to tell folks that we'll try to add some of these questions at the bottom here and finalize this and have this available for you on our website, as well as I think we may just go ahead and send it out to folks that signed up, just so folks get it in their inboxes. And again, to remind you that this is a little bit of a working document as things move along and we have other questions or we need clarification. We do plan on updating it. So just make sure you continually look for the most updated version. So thank you.
And so you guys are also aware, we were holding on any major changes to our website until the administrative rulemaking process and our board meeting on Monday to run these guidelines by the board was complete. But we'll be working to update our multifamily loan program page in particular to the names of the current programs as you see here, remove the old Cold Trust multifamily homes program language. And then this multifamily program guidelines will I believe, take the place of the other individual program highlights. So we have one comprehensive document. So those website updates will be forthcoming as well.
Quick question, Cheryl, is the pre-app form available now? My link took me someplace, I'll check it. But is that pre-app form available online now, or will it be by the end of the day? Okay.
It is ready to go. Heather, it is actually on our website. It's the same application as for tax credits.
Okay.
So the link is there.
I saw that and I was like, wait, I didn't know if it should be different.
Yeah, it's also in this document, so you can link right off of it into the document.
Thank you, Bruce. Appreciate it.
And Jason, how would you like people to contact the team to schedule their pre-application meeting in the month of January?
We're going to use the pre-qualification form or the intake form, and
Okay.
then we'll contact them.
Perfect. Okay.
All right. Well, does anybody on here have any updates across the state they want to share? Kind of what's going on, if there's any issues getting, affordable housing done in the state, if anybody can help with any answers for that, feel free, I guess, to chime in.
Good morning, everybody. This is Michael O'Neill with the Helena Housing Authority.
Yeah.
I'm just we're excited with the new ability in the last 6 months to really ramp up getting people housed in Helena, but across the state, and that was through the work of the Department of Commerce and Montana NARO Fair Market Rent project. That got our fair market rents increased and the appropriate and the payment standards that are set based on fair market rents. We're on tracks probably by early January to have 100 additional households housed in our area. I know Commerce is leasing up all across the state as well, and the local PHAs are doing that as well. So it's making a big difference. We were excited to be able to project base with Twin Creeks here in Helena, which is just getting done. So the timing is that they really worked hard to get those done, and they'll be done with one of their buildings will be the second building will be ready to go next week. It's passed HQS inspections and things, and so we're proceeding on additional project basing there. So that's exciting. And then as we move into 2026 with the increased fair market rents, it really provides us the foundation for us to proceed on our public housing repositioning and redevelopment of all 366 of our public housing units here in Helena. And so in these loan funds, it's exciting to have resources because we need resources to address these problems. So things are coming together. So very excited. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. That sounds busy.
Never boring.
Anybody else? I'm sure we've got plenty of things going across the state. I know many people are really busy working on it, so please share.
Well, you guys kind of know what we're working on because we've been given funding, but we have a project in Billings right now with Homefront. They're the owner, and we're developing the LB Lofts and Wall Gardens project, and we'll also see your existing housing there, as well as we were just awarded and we're working feverishly on our towers project to senior properties in Billings, to older brick multi-story buildings. We're going to do a big rehabilitation on and re-syndicate. So have that going on with 300 units there. And then Creekside is we're done with our 9% already, and we're working on our 4%. It's going smooth. Closing was a bit of a bear, and Bruce knows that, but it's going really well. So 161 households are going to be in really good shape there, and we'll continue to work over the next year to finish the 4% side of it. So, and that's we work with Neighborhoods Great Falls. It's a support housing project in downtown Great Falls, and we opened the doors, got the service providers in, and leased in 1 month. Everybody moved in October, and it's going really well. Always fun wrinkles with buildings when you first open them, but it's turned out really well. So that's just kind of a snapshot of what we have going on, working with YWCA here in town and working to acquire some properties we preserved with GMD a while ago, and kind of bring them into the Homewood portfolio as they exit. So just a few things going on.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think along that same vein, the Missoula Housing Authority and United Housing Partners, in collaboration with Boucher development are moving forward here with our due diligence on beginning the wildflower rehab here in Missoula. That's 96 units of affordable housing, and it was interestingly enough built about the same era as Creekside. So continuing on our long-lived collaboration here, Heather's team and architect have been really forthcoming and helpful in identifying some of the unforeseens that they saw in the construction of those buildings at the time. So we have that added benefit of kind of getting a peek behind the curtain at some similar things that may pop up. But we're diving into that. I think here in Missoula, we're pretty excited about the mayor's city surplus lands task force and the outcomes of that. That has resulted in the identification of over 40 acres of developable city surplus lands here in Missoula. And I just can't say enough about the mayor and city staff prioritizing this at this important time. It's already resulted in a couple of large projects that will really move the housing needle in Missoula, already kind of being conceptualized. So I think it's going to be fast and furious. Some of the parcels are well suited for development today, and some may be waiting for infrastructure needs in the future, but we have some new tools to address those. So yeah, kind of an exciting time here in Missoula.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Who else has got stuff going on? Does anybody have any questions on they're stuck on something, trying to figure out how to get something done that anybody could help out with or anything like that?
No, I think that you guys just killed yourself working with the legislature on creating this loan fund will help solve a lot of our current anxiety and problems with project feasibility. So thanks for your hard work on that.
Yeah, most of you guys helped get that done as well. All right, we're at 10:50. Cheryl, do you have something, I guess?
I'll just add that we've been working with the VA and are seeing if a member of the VA from the Rocky Mountain region can attend one of our board meetings in the spring to provide some information about what VA is seeing in terms of site-based housing needs for particularly aging veterans with higher level service needs. And kind of proximity to locations. I've talked a little bit with Sam Oliver and a couple of you as well. Some of you may have received an email from me asking if you'd be comfortable with me sharing your information with my contact, Rachel, at the VA. She's really gung-ho to try to work collaboratively with partners to bring on additional housing specific to aging veterans with higher level service needs. So if you haven't responded to that email, let me know. Just wanted to give a heads up that we're trying to work with Rachel to get her at one of our upcoming board meetings so our board can hear directly from the VA about the needs that they're seeing and their preferences for affordable housing for Montana veterans. That's all I got, Jason.
All right. Last try. Anybody have anything they want to share before we wrap up? All right. Well, I thank everybody for coming on. Any questions, let us know. And I hope a lot of applications come in with this. So thanks for joining, everybody.
All right. Have a good one, guys.